everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling something pretty cool. Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG for short.
That's right.
So RJ, it's basically like giving AI a major boost.
Yeah.
Helping those large language models like ChatGPT,
Right.
become even smarter and more reliable.
Exactly.
Have you ever, asked ChatGPT about something recent and gotten that,
Oh, yeah.
like, knowledge cutoff message?
Linens all the time.
Yeah, super frustrating. Well, Arga's here to fix that.
Basically, it's all about connecting those powerful language models to a vast world of information that's constantly being updated.
Ooh. Okay, so how's it work? Like, what's the secret sauce?
Think of it as like a dynamic duo, a detective and a storyteller.
Okay, a detective and a storyteller. I like it.
So the detective, that's the retriever part of RAG. It's constantly searching external databases for the most relevant facts to answer your query. And then the storyteller, that's the generator it steps in, weaves those facts into a clear, compelling response.
So it's not just relying on, like, what the AI already knows, which can get outdated pretty quickly.
Right, exactly.
It's going out and finding the latest info.
Yeah, it's like giving ChatGPT a whole research team.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But how does this actually play out? Is there, like, a step-by-step process?
You can think of it as like a 5-step recipe for making AI smarter.
5 steps, okay.
First, you have your prompt. That's the question you're asking. And that triggers the retriever to jump into action, scour those external sources based on your request.
So the retriever is like a bloodhound sniffing out the best info for the question.
Exactly. And once it finds those potential sources,
Right.
it doesn't just like dump everything on the generator.
Okay.
That's where the ranker steps in.
Uh-huh.
Acts like a judge evaluating the evidence, and then picks the most credible and relevant sources.
Oh, so it's like a quality control step. You don't want to be fed bad info.
Right. You got it.
So what happens next?
Well, this is where the magic happens. That retrieved information is carefully woven into your original prompt, creating this like augmented prompt that gives the generator all the context it needs for a really insightful response.
Ah, so the generator isn't starting from scratch.
No.
It's getting a head start with all this extra knowledge.
Exactly. It's like giving the generator a cheat sheet with all the relevant facts highlighted.
Okay, I see. So then the AI can give a much more informed and accurate response.
More accurate, more coherent. Like it's a master storyteller, but one who's also incredibly well researched.
Gotcha. I'm starting to see how this could be a real game changer. But we've been talking about these components, the retriever, the ranker, the generator, kind of like they're individual people. How do they all work together?
Think of them like a research team working on a big project. The retriever's out in the field gathering data.
Okay.
The ranker's back at headquarters analyzing and organizing everything.
Oh.
And the generator, that's the one who puts it all together into a compelling report. It's a real team effort, each part playing a crucial role.
That's a great analogy. Okay, so this is all super fascinating stuff, but let's get real. Why should our listeners care about RAG? What are the real benefits?
Well, for starters, think about all those times you've gotten like inaccurate or just irrelevant information from AI.
Oh, yeah.
RAG really cuts down on that. It's like having a built-in fact checker, making sure you're getting solid information.
That's huge, especially when you're, relying on AI for important decisions or research.
Yeah, right.
So what else? What other benefits does RAG bring?
Well, think about how overwhelming it can be to try and go through tons of information online.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
RAG can help you get the key points of a long article or report. You don't have to read every single word.
Okay, so it's a time saver.
Huge time saver.
What about for, like, learning new things? Any advantages there?
Absolutely. Imagine educational tools that tailor their content to your specific learning style. It's like having a learning companion that adapts to your pace and gives you personalized feedback.
Wow. So it makes learning more engaging and effective.
Exactly.
This is starting to sound like the future of how we access and learn information.
It really is.
But before we get too carried away, I'm curious about real-world applications. How is RAG actually being used today?
Let's start with something we're all familiar with, question answering systems. Imagine virtual assistants that can not only understand your questions, but they give you these really comprehensive, accurate answers.
Okay.
Because they're pulling from these huge knowledge bases.
So we're talking about like smarter search engines, more helpful chatbots,
Exactly.
a whole new level of information access.
So it's like having a 204/7 research librarian at your fingertips.
That's amazing. What other exciting applications are out there?
Well, beyond just answering your questions, RD is also making big strides in content summarization. Imagine getting the key points of like a really long article without having to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
RAG can analyze all that text and pull out the most important information and give it to you in this nice, concise summary.
That seems incredibly useful for anyone who has to deal with like information overload on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know, I could definitely use something like that.
And here's one that's really exciting for anyone who loves to learn: personalized educational tools.
Okay.
Imagine a learning platform that adapts to your individual needs,
Yeah.
providing you with targeted information and exercises based on your strengths and weaknesses.
That's amazing. It's like having this like custom designed curriculum that evolves as you progress.
Exactly.
But we were talking about those question answering systems earlier, and you mentioned smarter search engines. Can you talk a little more about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine a search engine that doesn't just give you a list of links, but actually understands what you're searching for and gives you a real informative response.
Okay.
That's the power of ARG in action.
So instead of just getting a bunch of random websites, you get an answer that's actually relevant to your specific question.
Exactly. It's about making information easier to understand no matter your level of expertise.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about how frustrating it can be when you search for something online and you get bombarded with all this technical jargon or just irrelevant results.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
ARG can really help bridge that gap.
Makes it easier to digest.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm seeing the potential here. It's not just about finding the information, it's about actually making sense of it.
Right.
But like with any new technology, there must be some challenges that come with implementing Argon, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. While ARG has this incredible potential, there are still some hurdles to overcome. Well, for instance, think about all the different ways people ask questions. Sometimes we're looking for simple facts. Other times we need these in-depth explanations. And sometimes we're even looking for inspiration.
Yeah, it's true. We don't always phrase our questions in the most straightforward way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can be a challenge for our gaze systems.
I bet.
They need to be flexible enough to handle all these different types of queries and still give you a relevant response.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about understanding the nuances of human language and intent.
So it's not just about retrieving the right information. It's about understanding the context of the question.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty complex.
It is complex.
Yeah.
But researchers are constantly developing new techniques to make ARG better at understanding and responding to all these different queries. It's a really exciting area of research, and the progress is remarkable.
That's good to hear. But I imagine handling all these different types of questions isn't the only challenge, right?
No, you're right. There's another big one: scaling to larger data sets. Think about how much information is available online.
Oh, yeah, it's a ton.
It's constantly growing, too, at an exponential rate.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that can be a major challenge for ARG systems, keeping up with all that data.
So how do they do it?
Well, researchers are working on ways to make ARG systems more efficient at searching and retrieving data from these massive data sets that are constantly growing. It's about optimizing the search process and making sure the information is still relevant and up to date.
So it's like finding a needle in an ever-expanding haystack.
You got it.
What a fascinating challenge.
It is.
Are there any other hurdles that researchers are working on?
Well, as ARG systems become more sophisticated, it's really important to make sure they're being developed responsibly.
Right.
We don't want situations where these systems might accidentally spread misinformation or perpetuate biases.
That's a really important point. How can we ensure that RAG is being used ethically and doesn't end up causing more harm than good?
Well, transparency and accountability are key. We need to understand how RAG systems arrive at their conclusions and make sure that the information they're providing is reliable and unbiased. It's about building trust in these systems and ensuring that they're being used for the right reasons.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the principles guiding its development and use.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that RAG is a powerful tool and it needs to be used responsibly. We need to have open conversations about the potential impact of RAG and work together to create clear guidelines for its development and use.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but let's not lose sight of the incredible potential of RAG. We touched on some applications earlier, like question answering and content summarization, but I'm curious, what are some of the more unexpected ways that RAG is being used?
One really interesting area is creative writing. Imagine working with AI to brainstorm ideas or overcome writer's block, or even co-author a story. It can help writers tap into all sorts of information and generate new creative possibilities.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It's like having a muse and a research assistant all in one. But what about other fields? How is RAG being used in areas like science or business?
Well, in science, imagine using RAG to go through huge amounts of research data, identifying patterns and connections that human researchers might miss.
Okay.
It's about speeding up scientific discovery by using AI to analyze and synthesize complex information.
It's like having an army of research assistants working 24/7 to push the boundaries of scientific knowledge. That's incredible. What about business applications? How is RAG changing things there?
In the business world, you can imagine having access to those like real-time insights into market trends, customer behavior, all those competitive landscapes.
Yeah.
RAG can help businesses make those smarter decisions, by giving them a really comprehensive view of the data,
I can see that.
the data that matters most to them.
That sounds like a real game changer for any company trying to, stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
It's like having a crystal ball that can predict the future of their industry.
That's a great way to put it.
But we've been talking a lot about these big picture applications.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Okay.
How could RAG impact the daily lives of our listener?
Imagine a world where information is just like right there at your fingertips.
Okay.
Easy to understand. You could get instant answers to your questions no matter how complex they are.
Yeah.
Tailored to, how much you understand about the topic.
So it's like having this personalized encyclopedia
Exactly.
that speaks your language.
And think about how this could change the way we learn.
Yeah.
Educational resources could adapt to your learning style, give you personalized feedback,
Okay.
create custom learning paths. It's like having a personal tutor that's always there,
Always available.
knows exactly how you learn best.
This all sounds incredibly promising, but I have to wonder about those potential downsides. Could our RAG lead to, information overload?
Right.
What about, the risk of manipulation or the spread of misinformation?
Those are really important concerns, and we have to approach this technology, with a sense of responsibility. We need to be transparent and make sure that these systems are designed to empower people, not exploit them.
So it sounds like we're at a crossroads here.
Yeah, I think so.
One path leads to a future where RAG opens up all these amazing possibilities and makes our lives better in so many ways.
Right.
The other path leads to a future where it's misused and could make things worse.
It's up to us to choose the right path.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into RAG, we're left with this really important question.
Yeah.
What role do you want RAG to play in shaping the future?
That's a great question.
How can we use its power, to make a better world?
For ourselves and for future generations.
That's definitely something to think about.
The future of RAG is still being written, and we all have a part to play.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Retrieval Augmented Generation.
It was my pleasure.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to some really cool resources if you want to learn more.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy exploring.